In the previous video for this lesson, we talked about what a degree is, and a degree is the highest exponent in the function. Well, what we didn't talk about is what if it has multivariables, so it has more than one variable. What would the degree be considered? So in other words, if you were trying to order something like this, how do you know what goes first? So that way everyone writes it the same way and we don't have to write it all the different possible ways that are possible. So that way we have structure. What we're going to do is if it has multiple variables is you're going to add the term's exponents to determine the degree, the ranking of what goes first and so on, because we always go highest to lowest. So when we look at this problem right here, this has an x and this has a y. Well, so does this. So how am I supposed to know which one needs to go first? Well, if you add the exponents here, 5 plus 1, this would get you 6. 2 plus 2, this would get you 4. This one is 3. So that is why this one goes first, then this one, and the constant is always last. The one without the variables goes at the end. So that's how we know how to write them. So if we put this one in the front, it's not wrong. It's just this is the standard way we do it. Okay, so now if we look at this next problem right here, well, this one's going to go first because X goes before Y in the alphabet. And then also when you add the exponents here, this is 2, whereas this one only is 1. So this one's going first because it has the X. And, well, the degree is also higher. Okay, now let's get to our big objective for this lesson, and that is how to add and subtract polynomials. So remember, to be able to do these problems here, these are polynomials, right? This is a trinomial plus another trinomial. So how do we combine these together? Well, to do that, we have to remember from Algebra 1 that when we add or subtract terms, we can only combine, so put them together, add or subtract, if they are like terms. So remember what that means. They have to have the same variable, same exponent. Okay, so if we're doing a problem like this is what this is saying. So first of all, there's parentheses here. Parentheses in math are used for grouping. Typically, if there's a number in the front that needs to be distributed, or if it has an exponent, or to show multiplication. Those are like the 3 big reasons we would use parentheses. Well, there isn't that going on here. So it's just used to group to say, hey, this came from something together. So I'm going to remove the parentheses. There's nothing to do there. And then same thing here. So there's nothing to distribute. There's no exponent. So I'm just going to bring this all down. And then this looks like a problem we did last chapter. So we are going to combine the like terms. So 4x squared with a positive 1x squared. So we're combining them. 4 plus 1 is 5. Then we can combine an 8x with a negative 1x. So again, what we're doing is 8 plus negative 1 is 7. Or we can enter this in as 8 minus 1. It's still 7. So plus 7x. And then we have a negative 11 and a negative 5. So a negative 11 plus a negative 5. That's how we would enter that. Or we can enter it as negative 11 minus 5. Okay, and then that is our answer. We can't go any further because this has a 2 as an exponent and this doesn't. We can't combine those. We learned about why that is, so please meet with me if you still don't understand why we can't combine 2 terms that are not like terms. So when we're adding polynomials, you can ignore the parentheses because distributing, there's nothing to distribute here. Distributing a positive doesn't do anything. So distributing by the plus sign, having the plus sign there, does not change anything. Okay, so let's try another one. So when we look at this, in between the parentheses, there's an addition symbol. So we can literally ignore the parentheses and think of this as one big giant addition problem. And then when we combine these, we can combine them if the terms match. So for example here, this one here, 5a cubed, there are no other a cubes, and I'm going to bring that down. Then I can combine a AB term, this has AB, with another AB term. So these would go together because they match. This is all together. So then I would have 3 plus negative 8, which is negative 5. AB. And then these two could go together, and I have 2 plus 5, which is 7b. Okay. Now it says write your answer in standard form. So that's practicing what we learned in the last video. And also what we learned up here about how to write our answer if there's multiple variables. So if we look at this one here, this has to go first, and this one, these two have to go before this one because both of these have the letter A, and A comes before B in the alphabet. So this one doesn't have an A, so this one is last. Now, how do I know? Because both of these have A's. So how do I know this one goes first and not this one? Well, you look at the exponent. This is a 3, and then here there's 2 variables. So if you add them, 1 plus 1, this is 2. So this is higher than these two combined. So that is why this is the correct way to write our answer in standard form. So again, it doesn't mean that this is wrong if you write it like this. The value of this is not wrong. It's just not in standard form, and it asks you to write it in standard form. Okay, so that's how you add polynomials. Lastly, let's talk about how to subtract polynomials. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about conceptually what this is saying. So again, the parentheses are there to say distribute, or if there's an exponent, which it's not being used in that manner, so we can literally ignore the parentheses here. Now over here, when you have a minus, it means like opposite, right? So if you put -4, it means you don't have 4, you're taking it away, right? So that's how I remember when I see a minus in front of a parenthesis, it makes everything inside opposite. Let me talk about why that is. So this is saying minus, take all of this and subtract 4y squared, and subtract a negative y, and subtract a -3. And what happens when you carry this through, this ends up making a plus here, and so does this. So do you notice when there's just a minus in front, instead of 4y squared, now you have -4y squared. Instead of a minus y, a plus y, and instead of a -3, a plus 3. So when you are subtracting polynomials, you have to distribute the negative first. So remember, it means opposite. Make everything in the parenthesis after it opposite signs. And then now we can combine like terms. So we have a 4y squared with another y squared term. Well, 4 minus 4, that's 0y squared. But we don't write that down because 0 times anything is just 0. So there's nothing there, in other words. And then we have a -2y and a positive 1y. So -2 plus 1 is -1. And remember, when you have a 1 in front of a variable, you don't need it. And then we could put the 8 with the 3, and 8 plus 3 is 11. So it's not that this is wrong right here, but this is the best one because it's most simplified. 1 times anything is just itself, so why even bother? All right, let's try one more. Feel free to pause the video and try it first on your own. So this is saying to take all of this and subtract all of this. So there's nothing to distribute here, so this one can stay the same. Now notice this is, I know that it looks like there's a space here, but this is all together. It's glued together. This is all being multiplied together. Same thing with this here. So these are all terms. And all these things, you have to have them match in order to add or subtract them. So these are all staying the same here. And then here's that minus, so it's saying opposite. So instead of 3w to the fourth, it will be minus 3w to the fourth. Instead of plus 6, it's going to be minus 6. Okay, now we're going to combine like terms. So we have a 3w to the fourth and a negative 3w to the fourth. So we're going to combine those together. And that would make 0w to the fourth. So just cross those out. We don't need to write 0. And then here, this one doesn't match this. This has a w, this has an x, but they don't match the exponents. So I'm going to bring that down. Okay, and then these two match. They're both wx's. So then I would have 9 minus 6, or 9 plus a negative 6, and that would be 3wx. Now, how do I know which one should come first? Well, they both have w's, and w comes before x in the alphabet. So since they both have w's and x's, how do I know which one goes first? I add these two together. 3 plus 2, this would add to 5. Whereas this one adds to 2 when you add the exponents. So that, whoops, let me rewrite the answer. So that is how I know that this is already in the correct order that I had it. So this would be the answer. So to recap here, when you are adding, I mean, you could literally just ignore the parentheses and just combine them, the like terms. However, when you are subtracting, you have to take the second polynomial and make all the signs opposite and then combine them.